There are truths hidden in plain sight. They live with us since birth's first breath, yet they remain silent like sacred whispers. Two of them hold unimaginable power. The soul, the spirit, names but not the same. Most confuse them as twin reflections, but each one holds a different universe. The soul carries your story, fragile and vast. The spirit burns eternal beyond time and flesh. One feels, the other knows. One trembles with storms, the other is the lighthouse. When we confuse them, chaos reigns within. When we see their difference, clarity is born. This is not philosophy. It is a key to the highest frequency. Imagine entering a temple older than memory. Behind its first doors, emotions, fears, desires. This is the soul's chamber. Walk deeper and silence greets you. Light without shape, eternity without end. This is the spirit's sanctuary. Tonight, you will discover the line between them. What you're about to discover will change forever the way you understand your soul and your spirit. Stay until the end, because the revelation is hidden in the final moment. If this message resonated with you, don't leave without supporting this journey. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell so you never miss the light of a new teaching. Since the dawn of human thought, seekers have asked a single burning question. What are we, truly? The body ages, the mind wanders, but something within remains. Yet hidden inside this eternal mystery lies a profound divide, the difference between soul and spirit. And to uncover it is to touch the very architecture of existence itself, a truth that once seen can never again be forgotten. The soul is the traveler, clothed in emotions, desires, and memory. It is fragile and vast, carrying the weight of every joy and sorrow. Within its chambers echo the laughter of childhood, the fears of failure, the longing of love. The soul is the story we live, the fragile script of a human life, written in both light and shadow, always trembling with the rhythms of time. The spirit, by contrast, is not a story but the blank page upon which all stories are written. It is the silent flame that does not flicker, the lighthouse unmoved by storms, the eternal pulse connecting each life to the infinite. While the soul trembles, the spirit remains, unyielding, radiant and unbroken in the face of time, an eternal witness untouched by the chaos of days. Confusion arises because both live within us, like two rivers that cross in secret. The soul cries, and we think the spirit has spoken. The spirit whispers, and we mistake it for desire. To recognize the difference is to find clarity in the storm of existence, and to step out of the fog into the stillness of truth, where silence begins to sing its eternal song. When we listen to the soul, we are guided by the weight of our past, its shadows, its passions, its wounds. When we listen to the spirit, we touch the eternal compass pointing toward the divine. One belongs to time, the other belongs to forever. To distinguish them is to finally walk with vision instead of blindness, and to awaken to a higher order of being. Imagine walking through an ancient temple. The outer halls are carved with stories, filled with echoes of voices, painted with tears and triumphs. That is the realm of the soul. But deeper inside, in silence and radiant light, waits the chamber of the spirit, untouched, eternal. To pass from one to the other is to cross the threshold of true awakening, where the human meets the infinite. To confuse them is to live blind, carried by winds without knowing the source. To see them clearly is to awaken, to walk with balance, to recognize that we are both memory and infinity. It is the first step in the journey toward higher consciousness, the moment where duality becomes the path to unity, and where unity becomes the seed of transformation. This is why Chapter 1 begins here. Not with theories, not with abstractions, but with the living truth that inside you dwell two flames, one that burns with the fragility of experience, and another that shines with the power of eternity. To unite them is to begin, and to begin is to remember who you were before the world told you who to be, reclaiming the original spark of your essence. Since ancient times, sages and mystics everywhere have wrestled with the same riddle. Where does the eternal reside, and where does the transient begin? Their answers differed in language and form, yet all pointed to a hidden duality within the human being. Across cultures, the soul was seen as bearer of memory and emotion, while the spirit was revered as flame of the divine. To hear these voices is to step into a sacred dialogue that still echoes through time. In Greece, Plato described the soul as a chariot drawn by three horses: reason, passion, and desire, each pulling in different directions. This struggle captured the fragility of human life, the pull of instincts and the longing for wisdom. Yet beyond the conflict, Plato glimpsed a higher spark, untouched by the shadows. That spark was the spirit, the bridge to the realm of ideas. To him, the soul battled between earth and heaven, while the spirit opened the door to eternity. In India, sages spoke of the jiva and the atman. The jiva was the individual soul, heavy with karma, carrying impressions of countless lifetimes, bound by desire and longing. The atman, by contrast, was not bound at all. It was the pure essence identical with Brahman, infinite and absolute. The jiva could be born, die, and return again through cycles, but the atman remained radiant and eternal. To recognize Atman was to awaken to one's divinity, to see the spark that death could never extinguish. In Egypt, priests distinguished between the Ba and the Ka. The Ba was the soul, the personality full of emotions and stories, painted on tomb walls with wings ready to fly. The Ka, however, was the vital essence, the eternal double that survived beyond death, traveling into the afterlife to join with the gods. To keep harmony between Ba and Ka was to guarantee safe passage into eternity, a truth carved in stone and guarded by the mysteries of the Nile. In the East, Taoists spoke in symbols rather than doctrines. They described the Hun and the Po, the ethereal and the corporeal souls. The Hun belonged to dreams and visions, longing to ascend to the celestial realms. The Po was bound to the body, to the senses, to the earth that gave it form. At death, the Hun returned to the heavens, while the Po dissolved into dust. Together they shaped life, but only the Hun aspired to merge with the eternal sky. Though separated by oceans and centuries, these traditions reveal a common vision. The soul as the book, fragile and changing, filled with memory and emotion. The spirit as the ink, the invisible force that allows the book to exist. Where the soul walks, the spirit sustains. Where the soul trembles, the spirit endures. To forget this is to live in confusion, but to remember is to awaken into clarity. The ancients did not reduce humanity to flesh and mind alone. They saw us as layered beings, woven of visible and invisible threads. Some threads sparkle for a lifetime and then fade, while others glow forever, untouched by the turning of seasons. They taught that the task of life is not to deny the soul, but to guide it, so it may reflect the Spirit's light without distortion. In this teaching lies wisdom, both practical and eternal. Chapter 2 is not merely a collection of myths from distant cultures. It is a reminder that humanity, across ages and lands, recognized the same truth. Within us burns a dual fire, one fragile and human, the other infinite and divine. To honor both is to step into the ancient river of wisdom that flows unbroken, carrying us toward recognition of who we truly are. In this recognition, we see the journey of the ancients as our own. To grasp the difference between soul and spirit, we turn to metaphor, for the unseen is revealed through images. The soul is a garden, always changing. Flowers bloom and fade, joys sprout, sorrows fall, hidden seeds wait in silence. Above it shines the spirit, untouched by cycles or decay, like the sun, unchanging, radiant, eternal. Without the sun, the garden would not exist, yet the sun shines whether or not flowers bloom. Another way is to see the ocean. The soul is like the waves that rise and fall, dancing, colliding, retreating, each one unique, each moment unrepeatable. The spirit is the ocean's depth, vast, silent, holding the power of eternity beneath the surface. Waves come and go, just as emotions surge and fade, just as desires flare and vanish, but the deep remains untouched. To confuse the wave for the ocean is to lose perspective, but to recognize both is to discover the endless mystery of being. The soul is a traveler, carrying memories and longings, walking roads carved by time. It stumbles, learns, rises and walks again, always in search. The spirit is the horizon, never moving, never fading, always reminding that beyond the road lies eternity. To see the soul without the spirit is to wander without direction. To see the spirit without the soul is to miss the path's adventure. Together they weave the full story of existence. The ancients spoke of the soul as vibration and the spirit as light. The soul vibrates in many frequencies, low with fear and despair, high with gratitude and love. The spirit does not vibrate, it radiates, pure and unwavering like the sun at noon. Life's task is not to silence the vibration, but to tune it, so when the soul aligns with the spirit's light, the human being becomes an instrument of harmony. To live only in the soul is to be swept away by storms of emotion, trapped in the endless dance of desire and fear. To live only in the spirit is to detach so completely that one forgets the beauty of the earth. But to live with both in balance is to stand in the middle of the storm while holding the lighthouse within. It is to feel and to know, to weep and to shine, to stumble and to rise, while never losing sight of the eternal flame at the center. Consider the flame and the lamp. The soul is the lamp, fragile, sometimes cracked, sometimes dimmed by the winds of life. The spirit is the flame, eternal and self-existent, needing only a vessel to shine through. When the lamp is tended, cleaned and kept open, the flame shines brightly, illuminating everything around it. But when the lamp is neglected, the flame still exists, waiting patiently, eternal, unbroken, ready to blaze forth once the vessel is prepared again. In truth, the difference between soul and spirit is not a separation, but a union misunderstood. The soul is the canvas, the spirit is the painter. The soul is the echo, the spirit is the voice. The soul is the shadow, the spirit is the sun. To hold them apart is to miss the harmony, but to bring them together is to discover that life itself is art, music and light, flowing from a single eternal source. The chapter 3 invites us into contemplation, not as an abstract theory, but as a living mirror. The garden and the sun, the ocean and the waves, the traveler and the horizon, the lamp and the flame, all are keys to unlock the same mystery. You are both fragile and eternal, both echo and source, both memory and infinity. To see this truth is to awaken, and to awaken is to begin walking not as two beings divided, but as one harmony of soul and spirit, shining as a single luminous fire. Once we recognize the difference between soul and spirit, the question inevitably arises, how can they meet? For the soul is movement, vibration, ever-changing, while the spirit is stillness, radiance, eternal. The challenge of existence is not to silence one in favor of the other, but to weave them together into a harmony that allows both to shine. This weaving is not theory, it is practice, lived moment by moment, as every choice becomes a step in their eternal dance. The soul by nature is restless. Like a mirror of water, it reflects every passing cloud, every ray of sun, every storm that sweeps across its surface. The problem comes when the soul believes that these reflections are its true identity, mistaking the image for the essence. Fear becomes destiny, sorrow becomes prison, desire becomes master. To guide the soul is to remind it that beneath the surface lies depth, and above it shines light. Only then can it find balance. The spirit, in contrast, does not demand, does not clamor. It waits in silence, like a fire that never goes out, like a star that shines even when clouds obscure it. It has no need to prove itself, for it already is all that it needs to be. But the spirit is not inert. It longs to be recognized, to pour its radiance through the vessel of the soul. It does not impose its light, it offers it quietly until the soul turns and remembers. The union of soul and spirit has been described as a dance. The soul moves wildly, shifting, falling, rising, longing. The spirit holds the rhythm, steady, invisible, like the silent drum at the heart of creation. When the dance is disharmonious, life feels fractured and painful. But when the soul aligns to the rhythm of the spirit, the dance becomes music, and existence itself becomes a song of balance. It is not about denying the soul as too earthly, nor about idealizing the spirit as unreachable. It is about remembering that the river belongs to the sea, that the wave belongs to the ocean, that the flame belongs to the fire. The soul must recall that it springs from the spirit, and the spirit fulfills itself by shining through the soul. In this mutual recognition, the human being becomes whole, no longer divided between shadow and light. Picture the river meeting the ocean. The river flows with movement, sometimes calm, sometimes furious, sometimes wandering, but always seeking the embrace of the sea. The ocean, immense and still, waits to receive it, not to erase it, but to expand it. In the same way, when the soul yields to the spirit, it does not lose its uniqueness. It expands into something vaster, a totality that transcends boundaries. This surrender is not death, it is transformation. To live this union daily is the true path of spirituality. It is not enough to think or to understand. One must practice, feel, and embody it. Each silence that welcomes the whisper of the spirit, each choice made in clarity, each act infused with compassion becomes a bridge. With time, the bridges become a path, and the path becomes a temple where soul and spirit walk together. Thus, Chapter 4 teaches us that integration is the key. The soul, with its stories and emotions, is not an obstacle, but a vessel. The spirit, with its silence and eternity, is not distant, but present. When both are united, life ceases to be a battlefield and becomes a sanctuary. And in that sanctuary, every breath, every gesture, every moment becomes sacred because it resounds with the harmony of the eternal flame within. To unite soul and spirit is not only a mystery to be contemplated, but a path to be walked. The ancients taught that the invisible requires practice, that eternity must be welcomed through daily acts. These are not rules to obey, but living keys, each one unlocking a hidden door within. To walk with them is to transform life itself into a sacred journey. The first key is silence. The soul speaks endlessly in thoughts, memories, and emotions, while the spirit speaks in the quiet that rests beneath them all. When you pause, when you allow the mind to fall still, the voice of the eternal rises like a whisper of light. Silence is not emptiness, it is fullness, the chamber where the soul ceases to echo and begins to listen. The second key is gratitude. The soul vibrates in many frequencies. Fear lowers it, envy distorts it, anger weighs it down, but gratitude lifts it higher, like wings carrying it toward the spirit's radiance. To thank is not a mere courtesy, but an alchemy. Gratitude transforms scarcity into abundance, wounds into wisdom, and every breath into a prayer. When the soul learns to thank, it begins to sing in harmony with the spirit. The third key is the body, the living temple. Though we speak of the invisible, it is through flesh and breath that the union is lived. To care for the body is not vanity, it is reverence. A straightened spine, a deep breath, a mindful step, all become rituals that invite the spirit to shine through. The body is the altar, the soul the worshipper, and the spirit the flame. The fourth key is compassion. The soul often narrows itself to its personal story, but compassion expands it beyond its limits. When you touch the pain of another and embrace it with kindness, your soul remembers that it belongs to something greater. Compassion is the mirror where the soul sees the spirit reflected, for to love another is to align with the eternal fire that unites all beings. The fifth key is intention. Every thought, every action, every word is a seed. When the seed is born of selfishness, it grows weak and fragile. But when intention is guided by clarity and light, the seed grows into a tree whose fruits nourish many. Intention is the compass that aligns the wandering of the soul with the infinite direction of the spirit. When these keys are practiced together, silence, gratitude, care, compassion, intention, life ceases to feel random. Each step becomes a ritual, each gesture a bridge, each breath a prayer. The ordinary becomes luminous, and the invisible reveals itself in the visible. What seemed like chance is revealed as alignment, and what once felt fractured becomes whole. Thus, the path of alignment is not reserved for saints or mystics. It belongs to all who are willing to remember. The soul need not be denied, nor the spirit placed on a distant pedestal. Both are within you now, waiting to be united. And when you live as their meeting place, you discover that life itself is the sanctuary, and you yourself are the flame that never dies. Conclusion and meditation. The journey through soul and spirit shows not separation, but harmony waiting to be remembered. The soul, with its stories and wounds, is the vessel. The spirit, silent and eternal, is the flame at the center. To confuse them is blindness, but to unite them is awakening, the true heartbeat of existence. When you honor the soul's movement and the spirit's silence, life becomes a sacred dance. Every emotion is a teacher, every memory a key, every challenge a doorway. Existence is no longer chaos, for you know you are both wave and depth, traveler and horizon, lamp and flame. Close your eyes and breathe deeply, each breath weaving soul and spirit. With every inhale, feel the soul, memories, emotions, colors of life. With every exhale, feel the spirit, silence, clarity, eternal light. Let them meet at your chest like rivers joining into one luminous stream. Carry this practice into your days. Let silence refine, gratitude lift, compassion expand, intention guide. Then you discover the sanctuary you sought outside was always within. When soul and spirit burn as one flame, life becomes meditation, presence becomes light, and the journey eternal. If this message touched you, support the journey. Like, subscribe, and activate the bell so you never miss the light of a new teaching.